Right, the Reds, this is Talking Reds. Me, Gareth Roberts, and joined today by Jordan Jarrett-Bryan, a sports reporter on Channel 4. You may well recognise his face, also an Arsenal fan, and he's actually agreed to talk about Arsenal with me, believe it or not. But Jordan, first of all, wanted to talk about, the disappointing shite is the only way I can put it, I've got to be honest, that we saw on our televisions last night. So we're all settling down to watch Manchester City thump Burnley, which we knew was always going to happen. And obviously in the build-up, around the time that the players were taking the knee, which we've seen across Premier League games, some daft racists flew a banner over the ground saying white lives matter. Wanted to get you on because obviously we've all talked about, I think, across football, what a great thing it is that, the Premier League's got involved, football clubs have got involved. It says Black Lives Matter on the back of shirts, everyone's taking the knee, all the symbolic stuff. But even for me as a lad who's grown up in a 97% white area, I look at it and go, well, is this just another tokenistic effort and we're going to return very soon to normal? It's not really going to make any kind of impact. I also think as well, mate, about what I always hear John Barnes saying, where he sort of says things like, well, it's not football's problem to solve. And, I always think, well, surely it is a bit, though. If things are happening around football, in football, if things are being flown over football grounds, then football is implicated in all this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think, first of all, on last night's incident regarding the banner flown over the Etihad Stadium, in a really perverse way, Gareth, I'm actually quite glad it happened. I'm quite glad it happened because it shows how much work there is for us as not only a football community, but as a society to do. Yeah. If anybody was under any illusion that this isn't a huge problem, then we've seen that this is a big problem because somebody has spent, I've done some research, £600 to fly that plane and construct a banner to put it over the ETS. And it's no coincidence that it happened around the same time that they were taking the knee. That was planned. Someone's put a lot of thought into this. And the mindset of a person to do that is we want to divide, we want to disrupt, we want to cause angst amongst a group of people, a society that are trying to push a movement forward that is moving towards equality. Now, the whole argument I hear from a lot of people on the radio last night, I listened to TalkSport and a little bit of 5 Live as well, and people were calling in talking about how, all lives matter. Well, the people that push that argument are either racist or thick, and there's probably an overlapping of the two anyway. The two are probably linked, to be honest, because they're missing the point. All lives do matter. All lives haven't been persecuted or left at disadvantage for hundreds of years in the way that Black people's lives have. Black people aren't saying that white people's lives don't matter. Black people are saying that our lives matter just as much as yours, and the way we are treated now and have been for hundreds of years shows that you don't respect our lives. Now, my view on the taking the knee and the whole on the back of shirts, all lives matter thing is that I don't care for it. I don't particularly care for it because you use the word. It's very symbolic. That's the easy work to do. Some people can applaud that. Some people can get crazy about seeing all that stuff. I don't, because that doesn't tangibly change the impact that's been felt on Black people's lives. So while it's a cool thing to do, it's 12 games. So first of all, why is it only 12 games? If the Premier League was serious, they would say for the entire next season. If they probably want to put out a message for the whole of next season, that will be, okay, fair enough. Okay, cool. That's something. That's a bit of a statement. 12 games is it's tokenistic. And finally, in regards to your point regarding John Barnes's point regarding, racism in society, it being a societal problem, which it is. It's not for football to we can't deal with it in football as we do in society. Well, like you, I disagree. Football can deal with its own house. I don't expect footballers to stop Black men in the UK and the US getting persecuted and stopped and killed by police officers in America and the US and in the UK. But I do expect football to sort out its own house and make it an environment whereby if you are a racist, when you step into Anfield, when you step into the Emirates, step into Stamford Bridge, you know you cannot get away with that sort of thinking and language. In the same way, you don't see it at tennis, you don't see it at rugby games, you don't see it at cricket games, because they know when they step into those arenas, they can't get away with it. Now, you're trying to tell me there are no racist rugby fans? There are no racist tennis fans? Of course there are, but they know when they go into those arenas, they can't get away with it. Football can do with its own house and make it an environment whereby when you go home, say whatever you want. You can call black people whatever you want. That's your entitlement. That's your home. But when you come into the Emirates or Anfield, that won't run. So I don't agree with John Barnes' view that until we sort it out in society, we can't fix it in football. So I think there's a lot of work to be done. And I think we're seeing how much work there is to be done. I'm done with the symbols and the gestures. I want to see tangible change. Stop sending out photos of people kneeling, and actual football clubs in the league, what they can do, and players can do, is better hold their clubs accountable to make sure that their clubs are environments where if you are black or if you're another race that's not white, that is a working environment where you feel comfortable. What the clubs can do is hold the Premier League accountable to ensure that when there's another racist incident on the field, it's not just a 6-game ban. It's you're sacked. You're done. Do you know what I mean? That's when I see football taking action and actually making moves. All this backs of shirts and photo ops with kneeling, for me, it's the easy work, Gareth. It's the easy work.
All that said as well, mate, it was good, wasn't it, to see Ben Mee come out and say what he said and react in the way he did. I think, that kind of thing for me does help in that I'm always torn on the footballers are a figurehead and blah, 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 because, ultimately they're ordinary lads who are just good at football. But equally, though, when you're put in front of a camera straight after something like that's happened, to say what he said and to be so emotional, it was like, I was a little bit out my seat going, yes, lad, go on. That's exactly what we need to be hearing at this point.
Totally. And I think he said all the right points. He made the right points. And I think he said it with genuine belief that he believes that what happened was wrong. I like the fact that he called it out straight away. Because I forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I think the first question that the reporter put to him was something along the lines of the game. And he said, no. I want to address this first. Do you know what I mean? And I like that. Burnley have condemned it straight away. But I think now what Burnley as a club have to do is back it up by finding these supporters and taking action. Now, there's an argument to suggest that it didn't technically happen on Premier League grounds. It didn't happen. It was in the air. So Burnley can't be responsible for what happens in the air. And it did say Burnley, not Burnley FC. So if I'm going to be a little bit, sympathetic to Burnley, I would say that whilst I would like them to really investigate this and find these individuals and take the appropriate action, at the same time, they can't be held responsible for what happens in the airwaves. So I think the words that came from Ben Mee were powerful and needed, but I think also I'm about action, Gareth. The talking and the gestures are well and good. I'm about action. What are Burnley going to do to make sure that they really make it clear to their supporters this can't happen? This won't be tolerated in our ground or in any of our games.
On the tangible stuff, mate, I mean, I guess people will be watching and be saying, well, what does he mean by tangible things? And, we've done plenty of stuff over the years on race, on racism, on people feeling uncomfortable in football grounds. I've done a lot around the sort of supporter side of it, because that's something I'm always interested in. And one story I did enjoy hearing about was the idea of, I know Bradford went to quite a lot of efforts to engage with their Asian community, to make fans from that community welcome in the ground. That definitely wasn't always the case, obviously. There were big problems, but now, they go to the games, they bring their colour to the games, they're accepted as being part of the match culture. And I'm not saying it's solved anything, but it's something where, you can see a tangible step forward. Is it that type of thing that you're talking about, making tangible efforts in the community?
Totally, to make sure that, as you say, every single person that loves football and loves their club can follow their club, can go to their games and feel comfortable, feel welcomed and feel respected. Listen, I chuck the most abuse at Liverpool fans and Tottenham fans and it is what it is, because that's what we do. Football's a very tribal game. I can't stand any other fans apart from my own. Although, to be fair, right now Arsenal fans are really top of my list of people that I'm disliking. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But that's football. That's football rivalry. When I go to a football ground, I respect anybody that I encounter in that stadium, in that arena. I don't care if you're black, white, male, female, disabled. It's not important to me. And I think once we get to a point where football clubs and football can do the work that actually makes people, because I know black people, Gareth, that don't go to football games.
Yeah,
they love football. They won't go to, because they're just like, what am I going to a game for? It's horrible. And while people say, okay, it's not as bad as it was in the 80s, they're scarred. And I think we do see that it is, there'll be incidents that come up every now and again where you see that it actually is still quite bad. I will say on the fan thing, though, I think we're getting to a point, Gareth, whereby the football fans have to make a decision, because they have to play their part as well. Media, the authorities in football, but also the fans have got to play their part in deciding how much are they prepared to back up their chat. Football fans always say, like me and you, it's disgusting, it's disgraceful, it's unacceptable, it shouldn't. But what are we going to do to ensure that we are holding authorities and our football clubs, mine Arsenal, your Liverpool, to account to stop this happening? And we may have to get to a point, Gareth, and it's unfair and it's not particularly nice, we may have to get to the point where we have on the table, we're going to refuse to go to games. Because if we believe this is an evil we need removed from our game, we can say it's disgusting and we can tweet and retweet, but what are we actually prepared to do to ensure that actual action is held? And for me, I would love to see the Emirates empty one day as a sign that until Arsenal and the Premier League show teeth in this problem, we are not coming to games. Now, as you might say, it's far-fetched, but if we want to back up our words, this is an evil, we have to back that up with tangible action. We can't just say it and then not do our bit to actually show how much we mean it. So that's kind of where I feel with football fans. We have to kind of not only say and call it out. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Would you be prepared to not go to Anfield for the entire season to make your point that what Liverpool and other 90 clubs are doing to rid racism as organisations isn't enough? Would you do that? Would you do that?
You've said, haven't you, mate, that you feel like this is an opportunity now for the clubs to really take a lead on it, to play a key role in it, which, as I said, is very different from the stance we've heard John take in the past. But on that, what would you as an Arsenal fan want Arsenal to start doing tomorrow? What action would you like to see them start taking?
I would like Arsenal to have a diverse senior leadership team within the club. So forget the team. This is not about football. This is about the club now.
Yeah.
I would like there to be a senior leadership team that works on the hierarchy of Arsenal, that has women, that has black people, that has disabled people, that has people from the north, because there are northerners that support Arsenal too. A reflective board, if you like. Not the board of owners, although that would be great, but a board of leadership that actually reflects the people that support Arsenal, and then first of all ensure that Arsenal as a working environment, so the kit man who may be black, the canteen woman who may be black, the security guy that works at the car park when the players come in who may be black, who work for Arsenal Football Club are working in an environment where they feel comfortable and they don't feel like there's an environment where little jokes are being made about their clothing or their accents or their skin tone. Those are the kind of micro banter jokes that kind of go on in the workplace that we kind of don't see as racism, but it is. Yeah. And it makes people who go to work feel uncomfortable. So I would like there to be a diverse leadership team that works within the Arsenal as an organisation to ensure that from top down, the environment from players to the tea lady, they all feel comfortable working there. And secondly, I would like Arsenal Football Club to be emailing the Premier League and the FA and FIFA every single Monday morning. Hi FA, hi Premier League, what are you doing this week to rid racism of football? What's your plan? It hasn't got to be a long email, a paragraph. Can you let us know what your plan is to fight and combat racism this week? And I would send it every single Monday morning at 9 o'clock, every week. And until I get answers, I would keep doing it, because Arsenal, as a club, once they've cleaned their own house up, and I think have a responsibility to hold the Premier League accountable to what they're doing to fix racism. And it has to be more than just, Black Lives Matter on backs of shirts. And it's got to be more than that. So those are the two things that I would want my club to do, to sort its own house out and then hold the authorities more accountable.
Yeah, that's my concern. I've got to be honest, mate, that, this is just sort of a bit of a flavour of the month thing. And then, we just sort of move on and we talk about a different cause in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. You're quite right to say that football needs to do tangible things and different things, not just keep going back to the sort of, oh, well, yeah, we're having a day or we're having a moment or we're having a slogan, whatever it may be. It needs to be more than that, doesn't it? Well, listen, mate, going to talk to you in a minute about football, about Arsenal, about the return of football during the pandemic and all the rest of it. But first off, I've actually got my cousin on briefly. He's going to tell us what it was like to go back to football in Denmark and be part of a socially distanced crowd. So here's Phil telling you all about that, and then we'll be back with Jordan in a minute. Okay, so this is my cousin, Phil Witcomb. Phil, you are in Denmark. You are fortunate in that you got to see a football match in the flesh at the weekend, and very jealous I was, not least when you sent me a second message telling me that you were getting free beer as well. But I think it was the picture you sent me, mate, that I shared on Twitter that captured everyone's interest, and obviously it made people think about how football may return in England at some point. There are talks around that, but nothing more at this point. France have announced the date when they're going to allow crowds of up to 5,000 again. Japan have done something similar as well. But yeah, just talk us through how it worked in Denmark there, Phil. First of all, I mean, people want to know about everything, to be honest, mate. So what was the logistics of you even getting a ticket? What was it like to go? How were the stewards? Talk us through it, mate.
Yeah, so it's my local professional club. It's AC Horsens. They're a mid-table Premier League, Danish Super League club, which is the top tier, and they're sort of a yo-yo club. That every second year they go down and they come back up again. And I go with my lad pretty much every game. He meets up with his mates. He's 7, and they all go in together, and the rest of us go and get a beer and sit towards the back. And they were chosen as Denmark's in a slightly different place in terms of lockdown to the UK. Things have been opened up now significantly for about a month. And football is one of those things that they're now trying to add more people to. The way that it happened actually is the Danish FA, along with the police, chose three main Premier League matches, Superliga matches here to test some crowd, the social distancing crowd on. And we were lucky enough that the local team was the one that was chosen. And basically what was happening, so the stadium holds 10,000, 7,000 of which is seating. Their regular gates are only ever 2,000 to 3,000. If they have one of the big teams like FC Copenhagen come in, then you may be getting 6,000 there. But we're used to about 2,000 to 3,000 people come in. And the way that it worked was, once the FA had said which games were going to be trialing the crowd safety side of things, they put tickets out to the sponsors to begin with, as you'd expect. Then it went out to season ticket holders as an option of a ticket. And then actually I was on a ballot, so I was on the general release. I found out about it. I got a notification at 2:00 in the morning, as it happened, saying you're at the front of the ballot. And I went online, and just as any modern sort of booking system, I was able to pinpoint my seats. Bearing in mind there weren't that many left, and turned up at the gate. There was fairly minimal prep, fairly minimal advice as to what to do before or anything like that. But to be honest with you, with Denmark, we're being used to being out of lockdown now. Yeah. So as a society, we're sort of taking those precautions, and they've been part of our precautions as, for the last month or so. So we're getting a bit used to it. So we kind of know what the deal is, if you like. So anyway, got the ticket. All tickets are barcode, QR coded on your phone anyway. So there's no handing over tickets. There's no ripping. Met up at the stadium. I didn't get there early. We weren't asked to get there early. And the deal was they'd made the capacity down to about 980, I think they said, total, of which 780 were general tickets. The rest were going to players, staff, and the peripheral people there. Turned up, as you know, with the lines on in front of the gate, the turnstile gate, 2 meter distancing. Although distancing here is only 1 meter now, you see.
Right.
And queued up, showed it. She showed us to where to go, and we just went into the grandstand. We had our seats. The way that it worked actually is there were every second row was taped off, cordoned off, and there was a gap of 2 seats between every seat in the grandstand.
Right.
So that was taped off as well. So I actually couldn't sit with my lad. He had to sit 2 seats away, which he kind of enjoyed. And it was fine. It was fine. There's obviously a lot of distance between people. Therefore, there's not that chat. There's not the same atmosphere in any way possible. But it was all right. It was a live game of footy. Do you know what? Actually, once you're there, you forget that. Well, it was a bit like being there for some of the smaller games anyway, in that there weren't that many people there. But you forget what you're missing. I have to say, because all you're doing is gaining.
Was any of the other logistics different in terms of, going to the toilet, getting a drink, things like that? That's what people were talking about on Twitter when I put that picture up you sent me.
Right, yeah. So toilets had a one way in, one way out. Right. There was hand sanitizer available before you went in. I even saw some blokes wash their hands after having a piss, which is the first time I've seen that for years at a football ground. But actually, it seemed like people were taking the protocols and washing their hands and then desanitizing their hands after going to the toilet. And this was at half time as well. It was a very orderly queue into the toilets. There wasn't anybody making sure there was only 10 people in the toilets at any one time. It was just a kind of, we're all in this together, just wait your turn sort of thing. The concessions areas were all open. Food was being served, beer was being served. The concessions people all had medical, or not medical grade, but masks on, and you were asked to pay by app. We have mobile pay, NFC payment ears, so that's all fine. That's different to cafes and restaurants here, because at the moment cafes and restaurants they've opened back up again, but the service doesn't have to wear face masks. So that was something that the stadium had gone above and beyond, if you like, to do. It was pretty much same. There were slightly less people than you'd expect. The toilets were slightly more regimented. The seating was obviously more regimented, but as an experience, it wasn't significantly different to what a regular match day might look like, to be honest with you.
And I think you collared one of the players as well, didn't you? For off the record little chat, and I think you said he was saying that he much preferred the experience of there actually being someone in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that from the moment they all came in. You could see that they were looking around for their mates and their family, half of them, I reckon. But they were looking around, they were enjoying the crowd. You could see there was a general sort of, when the good tackles went in, or, in this one where somebody blasted the ball outside the ground and stuff like that, there was, they reacted to the crowd. And the fellow that I was talking to was saying it was significantly different and significantly better. And this is a team, actually, when they came back from the lockdown, they were really struggling. They were going to get relegated. They were on the back of about a bounce of 5 games where they hadn't won. They come back after lockdown. They beat the 3 biggest teams in the division on the bounce. And I said to him, it must have been great beating those teams. He says, yeah, but it's even better playing in front of fans. And he was on the bench and he enjoyed it even more than anybody else. So there's a definite difference for the players, and that feeds into the fans, and vice versa.
Brilliant. All right, Phil. Well, thanks very much for coming on and telling us all about it. Hope it is a general step in the right direction for football in general. I'm sure everyone will be watching what's going on in Denmark. watching what's going on in France and Japan when they go for something similar as well. And there are talks already going on in this country. We do know that the FA have been talking about it, the governments have been involved, and there have been tentative discussions with fans too. So it's a watch this space, really. But yeah, thanks again, Phil, for coming on. Jordan, you are the day job is a Channel 4 reporter, and I've seen some of your reports around the return of football. I wondered whether you'd heard anything about this sort of idea yet about, getting fans back into the stadium and that kind of thing. I know something was mentioned by the FA. There was a tentative mention of it by government, and there's been some, fans groups have been consulted and stuff like that. Have you heard anything on that score about the idea of maybe socially distant crowds in England?
Nothing concrete, Gareth, but I have been speaking to definitely one for sure, company that think they're working on, or they're quite close to launching and presenting to various Premier League clubs a testing system that would enable fans to not only, they don't have to socially distance in the grounds, they can come in as normal. They get tested, I think, 3 days before the game they're going to. They get like a passport, if you like, to show that they have passed this test. They can go into the grounds. All the grounds are sprayed and sanitized once you get into the ground. It's quite a full-scale job, but this company I've been speaking to are quite confident that they can deliver this within the next, they reckon it could be as soon as the next month or two. So, I mean, if we write off the season, they definitely feel it's implementable by the time the next season gets underway. And it's not only sporting fixtures that they're working with. They're working with airports. They're working with construction sites. They're working with schools. So any environment where there are mass people, they believe they've got this kit they can deliver this particular procedure. So there's that. Beyond that, not really. I think the Premier League are working hard to try and ensure that by next season they have some system in place where fans can come back, whether it is, one fan every 3 seats or not. I personally feel like, and although I'm hating no fans in the ground, I'm struggling to watch games. I really am without fans. I would almost say I'd rather they wait until all fans can come back in rather than do the whole idea I've heard proposed where, okay, the Emirates, we can get 60,000 people in. So rather than having 60,000 people, maybe you just have 25,000 people. Because I think that scattered around, I just don't think would look good. And part of the noise and energy, as you know, as a Liverpool fan, that comes from the crowd is groups. I think if you've got kind of patches of people, kind of, 1 in every 4 seats, whatever, that noise isn't quite the same. You get the noise and the energy from crowds when it's a pack of 100. It's an entire stand of 5,000. So that's kind of pretty much where I think we need to have all of them in rather than a few at a time sort of thing. So I'd rather wait until we can all go back in rather than the kind of 1 in 4 fans come back in.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit of a logistical nightmare, that as well, in terms of who you let in and who you leave out and how you sort that out. I mean,
exactly. How do you police that? How do you do that?
It's already a nightmare. I'm sure it's the same at Arsenal, but it's already a nightmare about who gets tickets, how they get tickets, and all the rest of it. So, God knows how they would sort all that out. I mean, we have got, you mentioned there that we have got football back, but it is this sort of bastard son version of it. And it's, it's all not quite right, but it is at least something, and it's a talking point, if nothing else. Arsenal, mate, it's not been great, has it? We all tuned in for that game against Manchester City, and David Luiz was David Luiz. And then Brighton at the weekend, just when you thought, Arsenal were doing something right, they do something wrong and they lose that one as well. And, right now you sort of look at it, mate, 10th in the table. Southampton and Sheffield United, I think it is the next couple of fixtures, which are games no one would really fancy.
No.
Being honest. I mean, just what are Arsenal doing? Where are they at? Where are they going? And how are you feeling as a fan right now?
I'm feeling very, very numb, and like I almost don't care. That's what Arsenal have kind of driven me to now, Gareth. I'm close to the brink now, at the point now where I'm starting to struggle to care. And a lot of football fans would kind of see that as a bit of a sin. How can you not care? But this is not 2 or 3 seasons of transition where it's been pretty bad, but all right, we've had 10 years of success, and now we've kind of had our time and we're kind of going through a phase. This is nearly 15 years, Gareth. This is, I mean, if I'm being nice, a decade. It's at least a decade now of Arsenal being a joke club. The two things I would say about Arsenal at the moment are first of all, Arsenal have a big PR problem in the sense that Arsenal no longer know how to lose a game without it being a story. So Arsenal can't lose games anymore now, and it's not the biggest story of the weekend. You know, Arsenal lose to Manchester City. Louise gets us the entire back page. Losing away to Manchester City in itself is nothing. That's nothing to be. There's no disgrace in that. But Arsenal can't just lose to Man City 3-0. There's got to be a side story. Arsenal can't just losing to Brighton. All right, we're we shouldn't be losing to Brighton per se. But if you lose 2-1 to Brighton, that's not the biggest shock of that's not like, okay, but it's the way we lost to Brighton, which makes the bigger story. Arsenal can no longer lose games without there being a story attached. If it's not a player, it's a manager, or it's the board, or it's the captain walking off the pitch and throwing. There's always a story attached to an Arsenal defeat. And that PR problem is something that Arsenal got to address ASAP. The second thing I think Arsenal have to accept, and it's something where the fan base, I think, are deluded and really struggle with, is Arsenal not a big club anymore. Arsenal are not a big club anymore. Arsenal have a great history. Arsenal have one of the biggest fan bases globally in the world. But we're not a big club anymore. Big clubs don't lose their best players consistently. Big clubs are in the market for the best players in Europe. Big clubs don't consistently lose. We're past losing to City and Chelsea and United and Liverpool now. Arsenal can't even guarantee wins against the Brightons and Southamptons and the Palaces anymore. That's not a big club. Arsenal get excited, fan base get excited when we don't lose for 6 games, but 4 of them are draws. Arsenal get excited when we win 3 in a row. For a big club, 3 wins in a row is not a run. That's not a run. That should be standard for a big club. 10 wins in a row, that's a run. 8 wins, 3 wins in a row is not a run that a big club should be judged by. And the fan base, I think, are the blessing and the curse of Arsenal. And until the fan base understand we are no longer a big club, they're going to continuously have their hearts broken, because we need to realign now our expectations about where we are. Arsenal fans would have gone into that Brighton game expecting to win. I say, why? Why? We're not take out Aubameyang, we're Southampton. That is the truth, Gareth. You take out Aubameyang, we're mid-table. We're a mid-table club. We're not top 4, we're mid-table. We're in that clutch of teams just outside the top 6. So the quicker Arsenal fans realise we are no longer a big club, the quicker, the fan base can realign their expectations and not get excited. Losing at home away to Brighton is not a shock. I didn't understand why people were... They've beaten us before. I think in the last 5 games against Brighton, Gareth, we've beaten them once. We've lost to Swansea at the Emirates twice in the last 6 years. We've lost to Southampton twice at the Emirates in the last 6 years. We've lost to Palace twice. These are not shocks anymore, Gareth. These are not shocks. And when it becomes the norm and not a shock, that's when you know we're not a big club anymore. We're just not. And I think those are the 2 biggest things. A, the fact that Arsenal can't lose without it being a story. And secondly, we need to realise that we're not a big club anymore. And then we need to clean house. This is beyond 1 or 2 crap players, Louise, Mustafi, the week after, Xhaka, Lacazette. This is beyond that now. This is actually about the core of the club, not the team, the club. And what do Arsenal Football Club want to be going forward? Now, I'm talking a lot here, so forgive me. I'll wrap up now. But Arteta was the guy that I wanted, because I believe that there's a great coach and a good man that can take this club into the next phase. But he has to be backed. And when I say backed, I don't necessarily mean being backed with £300 million to spend. I actually mean being backed by being allowed to say, okay, Mesut Ozil's contract, pay it off. This season, pay it off. Just get rid of him. Mkhitaryan, pay it off. If these guys won't be sold, just gut the club. We need to just pay off these players, get rid, start again. Just start again. It's a little bit like America. America, for me, needs to start again. They've got to reset. Just start the whole country again. Do you know what I mean? It's gone so far, of ruin is, don't try and fix it, just start again. And I think Arteta has to have the autonomy now this summer to be able to say, you're gone. And if it means the next 4 or 5 years, you're a Liverpool fan, the next 4 or 5 years, we have to come 8th, 9th, 10th, but there's a plan in place, then so be it. Yeah. So be it. We have to start again.
Yeah, you want to see a direction of travel, don't you, mate? And I think, that's what we've had, I think, with Jurgen Klopp from the moment he's come in. We lost 3 finals. And obviously the tabloid press, some of them at least were doing what the tabloid press do. But, we were saying, no, this man's all right. We're headed in the right direction. We're pointed the right way. We can see where we're going. Mm-hmm. And now, obviously, it does look like we're finally going to get this title after 30 years. I mean, I'm sorry to do it to you after that passionate rant about Arsenal, mate. But what, from the outside, what have you made of Liverpool and Liverpool? I mean, obviously, it wasn't a great game against Everton. But in general, what have you made of Liverpool in recent times?
I think Liverpool are the model which Arsenal need to follow. Arsenal don't have the method of spending their way out of trouble in a way that United, City, and to a degree Chelsea do. So we can't follow that model of just, okay, we're going to spend our way back to success. We can't do that. And we don't do that. So I think we have to take the Liverpool approach. And that means you may have to lose a few finals. You may have to lose a few good players. You may have to suck it up and sit out of Europe for a couple of years. But as long as there's a structure and a 5-year plan in place, I mean, I'm talking about pre-Klopp. You guys have finished 8th and 7th and 6th and 7th and 8th and all that. And you are a big club. So if Liverpool can go for it, why can't we? I think Liverpool are the model of how to get a big club back on track. And you've had to kiss a few frogs to get to your prince, and you've got your prince now. And I'm Team Arteta, but if he isn't the guy, then move him on. I'm not wedded to any one manager. I don't care who you are. All I care about is that you have a plan and that you're given a chance to implement that plan. If it doesn't work, let's keep it moving on to the next one. Liverpool, you've got a model, you've got a team, you've got a system that has brought you great success. And I think also as well is Liverpool have always been a club that's been close to its fan base and has kept its fan base in touch with what it's doing. I don't agree with everything Liverpool as a club have done over the last few years, but you've communicated your direction of travel to the clubs to the fan base. Very, very well. And the fan base have stuck with the club through thick and thin, and now you're reaping the rewards of a decade or so where things weren't great for Liverpool. And I think Arsenal could learn a thing or two about that. Start again, get the right board involved, get the right manager involved, and then go from there. And Liverpool have done that, and now you're having your period.
Yeah, I mean, talking about right managers and wrong managers, a very wrong manager for Liverpool was, of course, Roy Hodgson, and his Crystal Palace side is coming to Liverpool on Wednesday. And we shall be previewing that match. We'll be doing all our stuff before and after, stuff on the site as well, written stuff as well. So check out theanfieldapp.com. Download the app as well. Jordan, absolute pleasure to have you on this morning. Thanks for taking the time, mate. Do look up Jordan on Twitter. Do look out for him on Channel 4, a man who knows a lot of things about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks again, mate. Cheers.
Anytime, mate. Anytime.
That has been Talking Reds. All right, the Reds, thanks very much for watching another Anfield Wrap video. Thanks very much for supporting the Anfield Wrap all these years, and particularly during the current crisis that we're all going through. We'd like your support on one more thing, and that is your vote in the British Podcast Awards Listener's Choice. It's really easy to vote for the Anfield Wrap in this. Just go to the BritishPodcastAwards.com/vote. You can search for the Anfield Wrap there, select the Anfield Wrap, make sure you verify your email. The email may well drop into your spam folder or your trash folder. Verify your vote. You've voted for the Anfield Wrap. You've done your bit. And hopefully, when the vote closes on July the 6th, we're going to win the thing this time, because we've come second 3 times now to BBC-backed podcasts. And this time, we want to win it, because you know what our mate Bill said about coming first and coming second. And this time, we've got a thirst for first. So do your bit, please. Nice one. Vote for us. Vote for the Anfield Wrap. Up the Reds.